What's going on, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about a new old knife, Cold Steel American Lawman. It's actually not new at all. This is the CTS-XHP version. It's new again for me because this is my second time owning it. The first one that I had, I sold, and I regretted it ever since. As I was slapping the shipping label on, I second guessed myself, but I sold it anyways, and thought that the Code 4 might be something that I wanted instead. If you saw the Code 4 video, which will be probably a couple videos before this, I got the S35VN model, and I actually got the Code 4 from Amazon, and Amazon had it listed as the CTS-XHP model, and they had two different listings, one for the XHP, one for the S35VN, and it was listed as XHP, but I guess they didn't have any XHPs, so whoever the vendor was for Amazon sent me an S35VN. So I ended up returning it because I'm not a huge fan of S35VN. It's a good steel, but if I'm gonna get a Code 4 or the Lawman, I want it in XHP. So I happen to be talking to Mike from Mike Likes Knives on Instagram, and we live like one town over from each other. We met up filming this on Tuesday. We met up on Sunday. So I've had this for a couple days, but I'm just getting to filming it now. So we met up and talked for probably about a half hour or so, and he's a really great guy. He's a big time knife collector. He let me hold his PM2 with carbon fiber scales. He got custom fiber scales done with blue titanium hardware, like actually a lot like this blue, like an ice blue. It looks really cool, and the carbon fiber scales on it were like double the thickness of your standard Spyderco G10, so it was really solid, and something that got me thinking about doing. It gives the PM2 a completely different feel. This is the left side pocket clip if you're left-handed, so you could carry it with the left. He held on to it, and I won't be needing that. Yeah, so there's just one scratch on it. This has, I don't know if this is PVD coated, but yeah, there's just like a minor scratch right here. Not a big deal. This is going to be a user for me. It's not, like a museum piece. So this thing's going to get some use. It is DLC coated, the blade, so that one little scratch, it's not really a big deal. This is a hollow ground blade, so much like the Code 4. They're both hollow ground, and the bevel is actually pretty small, and small is relative, but like the bevel on this, Mike had sharpened it, so it's not the original, but the bevel on this is actually smaller than on the Code 4. Actually, I'm going to do a size comparison. You can see how big the bevel is on this Code 4. And it's probably about, it's hard to see it on the camera, but I'd say this bevel is probably about 30% taller this way. It comes out this way, about 30% more than on the American Lawman. Now, the Code 4 is a bigger knife than the Lawman. The Lawman, you're gonna get a 3.5 inch blade, and the Code 4, actually they're the same. Yeah, so they're both 3.5 inches. I guess the sweep of the Lawman is bigger. This is the clip point, Code 4. So I think where they actually measure it from for the blade, you have to discount that you have a 50/50 choil on the Lawman, which you don't have. on the Code 4. So I guess if you had a 50/50 choil, they'd be the same. You know, if you line it up like where the handles end at the guard right here, or whatever you want to call it, if you don't start at where like the scales end completely, but where your hand will, you know, if you're not on the choil itself, the blade length would, you know, it'd be 3.5 for both of them. But the Code 4 seems like you get more steel, but I think what it is you just have a choil here with the Lawman, so you know your eye makes it, you know, it's deceiving to your eye. That's probably the easiest way to say it. You get 5-inch handles on the Code 4, and you get, I think, 4.5 on the Lawman. 4 5/8, so just a bit more than 4.5. So 4 5/8 inch handle. So it's an 8 1/8 inch overall, and then you have an 8.5 inch overall in the Code 4. And this isn't like a Code 4 versus Lawman. I'm just giving you like the quick comparison. Pair of 3. Versus the Lawman size here. Pair of 3 is pretty small compared to it. The Lawman is similar to like the Paramilitary 2 in size. And then last we'll do a Griptilian size. And it's actually pretty similar. It's like almost identical in, you know, in overall length, in blade length, and then in handle length. The only thing is the Griptilian, you don't have a forward finger choil like you do here on the Lawman. The steel is pretty thick. It's like, I want to say 3.5 millimeters. The weight on this guy is 4.5 ounces, so it's actually just a little bit more than the Code 4. Code 4 I think is like 4.3 if I remember correctly. You can tell that Mike hasn't carried this a lot because it still has like a fairly stiff action. My Lawman, when I sold it, had a little bit smoother of an action than this. But it'll work in. Yeah, I'm really happy to have this in my hands again. This XHP, I just love XHP. It's probably in my like top 5 steels. Cold Steel does a really good job on their XHP. They do a good job on all their steels, but XHP I think is the best steel that they offer. The pocket clip is good. It's not amazing. I wish they put it like a deep carry on, but it's really not a big deal. It is a closed construction, so you know you're not going to have like an open back. So there's actually some controversy with that, with like what actually stays cleaner. I find that the closed construction knives for me stay cleaner, but my knives get a lot of pocket time and I don't always have like the cleanest pockets. So yeah, the DLC coating is good. It's fairly tough. You know, it'll put up with some scratches. Yeah, I don't have much bad to say about this knife at all. The only thing that I wish they did better on this was the finger choil. I wish they did something where they end the grind here. I wish they did something like put a sharpening choil in there, and I may put a sharpening choil myself. The only thing is, because it's a DLC coated blade, you know, it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass to do and make sure you do it well. The Code 4 doesn't have a finger choil, but it does have the sharpening choil, which does make it a little bit easier to sharpen in the long run. But so yeah, it would have been nice to see, but no, it's not really that big of a deal. So this code 4 is going back in the box, and it's getting sent out tomorrow. So the Lawman, I would say, in either S35VN or XHP, would be a good knife for guys who like bigger knives, guys who use their knives and it's not just like a safe queen or like a museum piece that you want to be pristine. This is not really the kind of knife for a collector as much, I don't think. I guess it all depends on what you collect and what you like, but this is in my opinion a work knife. Just everything about it, the triad lock, which you get incredible lock strength, thick blade steel, but it's still ground fairly thin. You have a hollow grind, so you're going to be able to sharpen quite a bit of it before you start getting a real thick behind the edge thickness. It's made to be sharpened. It's made to be used with that hollow grind. Flat grinds are too, but they thicken up a little bit quicker than a hollow grind does. XHP steel is going to take a good edge, and you'll be able to strap it back for quite a while. It straps back pretty easily, in my opinion. The forward finger choil is nice because you get a little bit more control over the knife. And the thing that I like about this American Lawman more than I like about the Code 4, and why I wanted my Lawman back, or wanted to get a Lawman again. This isn't mine, this is Mike's knife, but it's mine now. It just wasn't, it's not my original. The comfortability, if it is a word, how comfortable this thing in your hand, no matter how hard you squeeze, you really don't get any hot spots. I guess you could argue that the pocket clip will dig into your knuckle just a bit, but again, it depends how you're holding it, and it's actually not even your knuckle that it'll dig into. It's kind of like where your palm ends right here, so not a big deal in my opinion. The Code 4, the inside of the handle and the top of the handle are a lot sharper. This is G10, whereas on the Code 4 it's aluminum. And the Code 4 I think is just as utilitarian as the Lawman, but the handles don't meet that that utilitarian draw, if that makes sense. So you're drawn to the knife because it's supposed to be a work knife, but the handles aren't really designed for a real comfortable use in a hard work environment. If you have a gloved hand, it would be perfect. So if you wear gloves, Code 4 would be great. The Lawman, I think too, it would be awesome if you have a gloved hand. There's a lot to grab here, and if you have a large to extra large hand, the Lawman is gonna give you something to grab onto. It's fairly thin in its overall thickness in the handle, but it's still tall enough that you get a full grip around. So it's a big enough knife that you don't have to worry that you're gonna grab on and then it starts to turn or something in your hand. That you're not gonna have to worry about that, I don't think. The G10, now this is used, so the G10 is a little bit smoother than what it is out of the box, but not really, it hasn't been used that much, so it still has that grippiness to it. They do a nice job with the rounding over and the chamfering of the G10. on the underneath part and on the choil. The tip of the choil doesn't have a real sharp point. It's nice and rounded over. So they did a good job, taking care of that. The fit of this knife is good. The finish is decent. It's not a really expensive knife, so I wouldn't expect that it has like incredible fit and finish, and it's a work knife, so it doesn't need to be a perfect knife, but it'll get the job done. I honestly think that the steel alone in this knife is worth it. That whatever the handle is, I don't really care as much. I wanted more of the steel, and my first American Lawman was one of my favorite knives. I started getting into Spydercos more, and I wasn't carrying this as much, but it's time to go back. So this thing is going to end up getting carried for quite a bit this week. I'm probably going to throw a new edge on it. The edge that Mike put on it is good. It's actually still pretty sharp. There's like 2 little hiccups here in the edge that I can feel. Honestly, they'd probably strop out, but I'll probably just put a new edge, to begin with. He did a nice job with it though. It's really even. Yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be it. I probably will, I'm not sure if I'm going to take it apart or not. I might take it apart and just clean it and mess with the pivot, tighten the pivot to the way that I like it, and figure out the action, how I want it. We'll see. The triad lock can be kind of a bitch to take apart and put back together. Lockbacks in general sometimes can be a pain in the ass. Some are easier than others. It all depends on the company. But overall, this is a great knife. I don't really have much to complain about, if anything. I'm really glad to have one in my arsenal again, so thank you, Mike, for letting me grab this off of you. And that's going to do it for this video. So this is Mike with I Heart Knives. Thanks for coming along. If you can go down, like, comment, subscribe if you already haven't. Thanks to all you guys, a lot of you Instagram guys that are coming over to the channel. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate all you guys and the time you take to watch these videos and the support I get, and the inquiry on the strops and stuff is awesome, so thank you so much. Alright guys, that's gonna do it. I'll see you guys on the next one. I hope you guys have a great day. Later.